Hey everybody, G.kenner. So what have I been doing in the shop besides making a mess? Well, the last thing I did was I finally poured into my new round silicone homemade mold. Got to see the video on that. And then I realized something's going to happen to me that happens to everybody once a year. It's called my birthday. I want a 3D printer to do some things in the shop, like make the flanges that go between each one of my power tools and the dust collection system. I figured that if I added up the cost to buy all of those, I could probably buy a 3D printer, but that means learning another tool. Many people want to get involved in something, but the base research, I'll call it 3D printer information for dummies, is just lacking. I reached out to my friend Bruce Taylor, and he and I did almost an hour-long live interview where he answered all my questions. I'm going to link to that, and I'm going to take and slice some of that up. I got a lot more content coming. I'm going to go and do a special on my Eon laser and how I make tools for my workshop with the laser, which kind of pays for it and shows the real value of having a good CO2 laser.
Hello and welcome to the Edge of Innovation Workshop YouTube channel and the G.kenner YouTube channel. Today, George and I are going to discuss 3D printing. I've been at this a long time. I've been a very long time 3D printer person. I've got a printer running back there now. It runs almost 24 hours a day. George is somewhat new to it. He's thinking about buying one. And so today we're going to discuss them and tell you why you might want one in your workshop. So George, what do you think?
So Bruce, you ruined me. What you did was you showed me an exhaust port that you had 3D printed. If you've got that, yeah. And now I have all of these woodworking tools. I want something like that that's magnetic, but I need them all in different diameters because my router table takes one size. I want it all to go into a centralized dust collection system. Well, I started to look, and some of those connectors, if you can even get them in the right size, they're $50 to $75. Well, I need about 10 of them. So I started to think, well, maybe it's 3D printer time for you, George. So, and I think we ought to tell everybody right now, we're not sponsored by any 3D printer. This is
absolutely not.
This is two old guys trying to figure out the system. And one that already knows the system, and then the newbie that's trying to figure it out. I'll share with you. I wrote to two of what I consider the bigger companies for these machines where they're not entry level. And I said, why would I buy yours as opposed to buying theirs? And, they have a sales department. You know what response I got?
Probably nothing. Yeah.
Crickets, not a thing. So what I figured was maybe you could aid me go through this in pretty much the same way that I purchased a laser. Yep. And why don't we start with, because this is the biggest question on my brain. Just like a laser, the machine is great, but how about the software? What am I going to need for software? Does it come with the software? Do I have an additional cost? Help me with the software.
Okay. Let's start with the basics. First of all, you have to design it. So let me switch real quickly and I'll show you what I use. And I intended to look this up before we went on the air. And I think I'm right about this. I use a product called Fusion 360. And let's see if we can get that up here on the screen. This is a project I'm working on now. I'll show you here in a minute the finished design. It's a base for a sign. I cut the sign on my laser cutter and engraver. And this is a base for it. And there's lights inside it. There's lights on the top. So this is Fusion 360 by Autodesk. And I believe the hobbyist version, and don't hold me to this, but I believe that the hobbyist version is free to use. I think that you don't have to pay for it.
Okay, so if you pay for it, how much is it? Is it $100,
You know,
$1,000?
yeah, it's not cheap. I mean, it's not free because it does so much. It has about 1,500 commands. Bear with me while I try to get myself back up on the screen here. There's why I'm not up there. There we go. So it's about $1,500, I think, for 3 years. I pay like $30 a month, but it has 1,500 commands. You'll never learn to use it all. There's stuff you'll never use, but it does so much. It's just unbelievable. So there are other alternatives that people use. I'm not familiar with a lot of them, but I know there's some free versions. I don't think they work particularly well, but there are free versions of 3D design software. You can also get a lot of things that people have designed free that have already been designed, and you just go on websites like Printables or Thingiverse. There are two websites out there that are kind of big, and those items are free. You just download them and they print on the printer.
Yeah, because pretty much all I want to do is, make small things that would accent my shop.
Yeah.
But, you make a good point. You can go out, there's a lot of open source, already free stuff that you could print.
It is amazing. One of the things that I printed not long ago was some little plastic clips to use on my honeycomb bed on my laser.
Okay.
All free. You just go on there. There must be 50 different varieties, and you pick out the one you like the best, and you go print it. And so a lot of the work's already been done. But if you want to do something that's special, then you're going to need to design it yourself.
I want everyone to know that they can come into my Facebook group called Laser Freedom. It is not sponsored by any manufacturer. You can say whatever you want. You don't have to have the same favorite machines that I do to participate. If you got a question about 3D printers, I'll do everything I can to direct you to the right information. Leave a comment or ask the question in Bruce's longer version video. That'll help his channel, and I'm sure he'll get right back to you. He knows his 3D printers.
A question, because more for the viewers, but to me, it doesn't sound like it's any harder than, say, light burn for a laser.
It is more comprehensive by far than light burn, and I would say it is a little harder to learn. It's not impossible, but there's so much to it that it's a piece of software that nobody, I don't believe, will ever learn to use all of it. And you really there's 1,550 commands, I believe. You only need to know about 50, maybe. Anybody can learn it. I mean, okay. Hey, if I can learn it, you can learn it.
So now the interface system, like with my CNC, I designed something in Vectric, then I have to put it in UCCNC to run it. Now, is it the same type of thing, or is it kind of like Lightburn, plug and play, makes its own G code and just takes off?
Yeah, in Fusion, you go into, once it's designed, you just simply go up the top where it says, save your files, and where it would normally in a lot of programs it would say print, and it says print to 3D, and you click what you want to print, and it will select the item, and it says print to 3D, and you save it, and then you take that file into your slicing software. And all of them read that Fusion file. I mean, it's a standard G code sort of format or SVG, and it's going to read it, slice it, and it does it really quickly. And the slicing software takes care of a lot of the stuff. I mean, you'll need to select what kind of material you're printing in. A good example is I printed these coffee cup holders, and I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see this on the camera, but these are the coffee cup holders. They hold my Tervis tumbler every morning with my coffee. And I tell people, they say, why do you have a 3D printer? And it's because I design and print things that never existed before. I've got something back there printing now. There we go. That is my Creality printer, and it's printing a piece for that sign that I showed you earlier. So yeah, that's the way it works.
I reviewed a laser by a company called Longer. They happen to have 3D printers. I sent you one of those, and it was like, I think $300. Well, that seemed to be, not the $98 variety, of which there are a couple out there. What do you think of this machine? Would it be a good starter for me? Would I run into problems that I'm not anticipating and couldn't get help or support for? Just tell me, what do you think about this quality of machine?
Yeah, this is a good place to start. I'll back up one and I'll show you what the cheapest thing is, and probably, well,
Okay.
definitely where you don't want to start.
Okay.
This this is an $81 AliExpress printer. If you go to YouTube, you'll find a lot of reviews of them. They actually will print something. They just don't print very big or very well, and they're kind of a joke. They're a toy that you might want to give your kids, except the printing nozzle gets really hot and it would be dangerous. But so you don't want to start with that. And they're all over the internet. The one you mentioned, this longer, is a very typical 3D printer. It's what's called a bed slinger. And by that, what I mean is that the bed moves in the X and Y direction, and the print head, the bed goes up and down, and the print head is what's is moving. So it's a very typical kind of printer. It'll do, and I was surprised by the build volume on this. It does a big print. It's a good place to start. Yes. Is it where you want to end up? Maybe not. When I started, I had something that wasn't as good as this. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I started with what was called a Lulzbot, which is right here. And even today, this is still made. They still make the printer, and it's $1,700. Now, when I got mine, it was about $2,500, and it was, compared to what you get today, it was not good. It was really cheap, and it was just kind of a joke. But this longer, yeah, it's a good printer. It'll produce usable prints. It's not real fast. It's not going to be nearly as fast as the one I've got in there running now. But, if you're not worried about time, it would be fine. And for the price, I mean, hey, you can't go wrong.
In my Facebook group, Laser Freedom, I posted I let all my people know what I'm doing, and I got some referrals for a machine. You see if I can find it. How come when you want it, you can never find it? But there were some comments, and they were talking about how a company named Bamboo Labs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That would be my other, I'm dying to have one machine. Those, and I don't have a picture of it. I should have put one up. Bamboo Labs, they're the one that everybody's going after. They're the ones to beat right now. It's about $1,500 for a fully loaded one. There was a waiting list to get them. I think the waiting list is now gone. I think you can get one pretty quick. Chinese company, they have a multi-filament capability. I think you can have up to 5 different colors on it. Very good reviews. They're very, very robust. They're fast. They're about as fast as the one that I've got running in here. In fact, it may be a little faster than the one I've got now. I have a Creality K1 Max, for those that want to know, and the build volume on it is 300 by 300 by 300 millimeters, which is roughly 11.5 inches cubed. The Bamboo Labs is not quite as large. It's about 250 by 250 by 250, but it's the one to beat. Everybody loves it. Lots of good reviews, and I've given serious thought to getting rid of this Creality and going with one of those, because apparently from everything that I can find, the print quality is better, and you don't have as many failures. And that's just a thing that goes with 3D printing. You're gonna start something printing that, I mean, I have prints that take, I had one about a week ago that took 22 hours on a fast 3D printer. And if something goes wrong, and it does sometimes, it'll screw up, and you're spitting out your printing filament, plastic filament, all night long. And you get up in the morning because it runs overnight, and you go in there and you have 5 pounds of spaghetti. And the Bamboo Labs has AI that will detect that. It can see that happening and pause the printer. Mine is supposed to do it. It doesn't. So Bamboo is, yeah. If I had my druthers, and I would probably buy the Bamboo over what I have now. Yes.
Okay, so to try and summarize what's going through this beginner's brain, is it sounds like there's two companies, and I'm going to call them Ford and Chevrolet. One's Creality and the other's Bamboo.
Yes.
Solid machines, and they come in various price ranges from about, I'm just going to use a range, 450 to about 1,500 bucks.
Yeah, actually, they both have something starting below that. I don't think they get down into the longer range. I think that's probably a little below either one of those. But in the case of the, and they may, I haven't looked lately. I think the Creality maybe starts out at, about $300, and I'm not sure about Bamboo, but they have some cheaper printers.
Well, let me read you a comment that someone I really respect gave me. And he says, I owned a Creality Ender 5 Pro for about 3 years and then purchased a Bamboo Labs P1S with the AMS module this year. The difference in the two is night and day.
Yes.
The PS1 was ready to go right out of the box with minimal setup.
Yes.
And the auto leveling feature before it starts each print is so helpful as well. Also, the print quality is so much better on my P1S. I'd say it's a perfect high-end entry-level printer. Now, I'm going to ask you, like on, based upon your experience, rate that comment on a 1 to 10.
Oh, that's a 10. He's absolutely correct. Prior to this, I had something very similar to his Ender. He had an Ender 5. I had a CR10 Pro, very similar. There wasn't much difference between them. Mine was, I think, a little bit newer model, depending on when we bought them. But both of them the same technology. They're bed slingers. They don't have automatic bed leveling, although mine, I did add that later, and it helped. But no, neither one of those are anything close to a Bamboo Labs or even the one that I've got, this K1 Max. K1 Max has automatic bed leveling, and the print quality is great, and it printed right out of the box. I literally did almost nothing to it. Take it out, set it on the counter. It takes 11 minutes to calibrate itself, and then it's ready to go.
Another rookie question, what's an AMS module?
AMS is the color, it stands for, I forgot what it stands for, but that's the module that goes on top that allows you to have 5 different colors that you print in. And it's kind of funky. Actually, Creality just introduced theirs. You're not going to be able to get it until September. They've got a module that will fit on mine. And you can have 5 different spools to print from. And it automatically will change the filament for you. Now, the problem with it is that there's a lot of waste. So it has to go purge the current filament. So it spits it out and retracts it and gets the other filament and feeds it in, because it's using a single print head. And you're wasting it, and it goes out a waste chute on these printers, and it's slow. The difference.
So is this Bamboo a slinger, or is this one?
No.
Yeah, this one is like a.
What we didn't talk about, I don't know if I've got one here. Let's see if I've got a picture of one. I don't know that I've got a picture of one. No, the one I have, my Creality and the Bamboo, are what are called Core XYs, which means that you have 3 axes of movement. The print head is moving the X and Y. The bed. Yeah, the print head is moving X and Y. The bed is your Z axis. So they typically have 4 support columns, and that's, other than the Delta printer, which is this odd configuration. There's only a few companies that make the Deltas. The better ones are always the Core XY type of printer.
Noise. How much noise do these things make?
Usually not that much. Mine actually has a silent mode, which I've never turned on. I'm not even sure how to do it, but I know it's there. It's not bad. It's, it'll make a little bit of noise. The fan can be a little bit noisy. That said, if you get one of the if you get the one that I showed you, that's the Delta printer, which was, where's my picture? It's this one. huge complaints about the noise. This up in the top of that machine, in the very top, it's called a CPAP, and I think it comes from people who use CPAP machines. It's not actually a CPAP motor, but it has a turbine that runs at 40,000 RPMs and sounds like a jet engine taking off, and everybody's been complaining about it.
So one more comment that somebody responded says, and this will lead to someplace. I went from an Ender 3 Pro to a Bamboo P1S. This thing's showing up quite a bit, this Bamboo.
Oh, yeah.
Which just means I got AMS too. To say it was a night and day difference is a huge understatement. If I was to buy a second one, it would be a Bamboo X1C. These printers are amazing, especially if you get the combo. Now, something happened to the Ender Pro. Mm-hmm. Should I consider going to buy one of those used, or do I just...
I mean, they're so cheap. I mean, before I would buy an Ender Pro, I'd go buy that longer. You'd probably be better off. I mean, it's very similar. You got something new. I mean, you see, if you go to Facebook Marketplace, I'm on there all the time looking at stuff, and you see printers all the time. There's actually a guy local. I contacted him, and he's got 3 of the K1 Maxes, just like I've got. He's trying to sell them. He had a 3D print farm, and he was printing something and selling it. I'm not sure what. And I said, well, why are you getting rid of them? They're fairly new. They're a great product. Why? And he goes, Bamboo Labs. He was switching. So, yeah. And I think he's got those K1 Maxes. The last time I saw them, they were, I think, $450 each. He had spare print heads for them, which is not a big deal. But, you know, $450. And the new ones, I don't know. I haven't looked. Let's see. I've got it up here, I think. Let's see. How much was it? Where's my picture? There it is. Yeah, it's $769. Now, when I bought mine, I paid $1,000 for it. They've come down a little bit thanks to competition. Well, as I said, my 3D printer is used to make things that never existed before. That's what I do with mine. I'll come up with something in my head. I can't go to the hardware store. It's not on Amazon, and I will design it, print it. And you can't imagine all the things around my house that I have printed with my 3D printer. And I love it. I like the design process and the creativity in it. I've made all kinds of things for my laser. I've actually got, at some point, I'll do a very long video about how I've upgraded my laser, the lights in it. And all of that was printed with my 3D printer. I've upgraded the lights so that when you turn it on, it looks like a football stadium inside. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I enjoy it. And I should mention too, George, and a lot of people watching this may be into lasers because we've done a lot of laser videos. This is a perfect complement for somebody who has a laser business already. I mean, they're just like the laser business. There are people out there with 3D printing farms that are printing out little trinkets. A lot of them are they do this cosplay, which I don't know much about, quite frankly. They print little figurines, all kinds of stuff, and they sell it on Etsy and eBay and Amazon, and some of them must be doing really well because they have. I mean, there was a guy I saw on YouTube down in Texas that they got like hundreds of machines printing some of this stuff.
You know, this
business.
The router table that I bought, it didn't come. And this is like one of those, this is part of what I'll be doing the next video on. This is obviously 3D printed.
Yeah.
Okay. It was part of the emergency paddle switch for the thing. But and you can see the ridging from the print, it's cracked. So this is going back. But when I saw this, I thought, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have to send this back and go spend all the time. I could have just cranked out that piece if I had a 3D printer.
That $4,000, $4,500 Prusa printer that I mentioned, most of the plastic parts on it were printed using one of their printers. And the beauty of it is if you break something, you go on their website, you download the file. Now, this assumes you've got a working printer. And you print it off and you replace it. It's kind of open source. So
Mhm.
yes, yeah, well, a good example, my printer that's running in there, very poor design in one respect. It was designed so that your printing spool sits on the back of it. Nobody
Mhm.
likes that. Nobody keeps it on the back. Everybody moves it to the side. And they now come with, and mine came with it, a little thing so you can move it over to the side if you want. Well, I didn't like the way it was. I didn't like theirs. It was just a real simple little spool and a little holder for the spool, and it wasn't what I wanted. So I designed one that had a roller in it, so the spool sits on it with ball bearings, and it's as smooth as silk, much better. And I got the idea from looking at one of the free models, and I took their idea and thought, well, I think I can improve on that, and I basically just redesigned it. I could have just printed the one that they had done, but I made a few improvements to it. But yeah, I mean that's it's great. You can do a lot of improvement just from the printer itself. A lot of the upgrades are readily available if you want to print something off and slap it on there.
Perfect. Okay, well, I guess we're almost at an hour. I guess we ought to
Yeah.
wrap this up and promise to come back and do one on filament.
Yeah, and if you get a bamboo, let me know. Or if you get anything, we'll do it. We can do an unboxing or something. I'd love to
Yeah,
see what you get. You got
someone I know has a birthday coming up, and one time he bought himself a laser.
Well, one thing about it, a 3D printer, no matter which one you get, for the most part, it's going to be cheaper than the laser. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you can go and make a list of everything that I need, and we'll get that posted up with this video. I have a feeling that somebody may just go buy all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put together a list and shoot it to you.
Perfect. I'll talk to you later. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks everybody for tuning
Okay,
in, and until next time, thanks for being with us.
let's go innovate.